JP Morgan, the XRP and Ripple killer that everyone has been talking about for a while now. Everything that JP Morgan does, it shines a bright light. Everyone is interested in what Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan do and say. It's always a big subject. You know, it's a big story in the mainstream media. What does this have to do with XRP? What's going on with XRP? Did JP Morgan, you know, say yes or let us know what's coming? If you ask me, I think they did, and we're going to go over the facts to make it official. That being said, hello everyone, my name is Nick and I'm glad you're here. If this video is your first time on the channel, I hope you decide to join by the end. Also, what are you guys waiting for if you're not already a part of the free Discord? It's free of charge. Just read the text that's below, join it right now, and then check out BidFi. A new trade is being tried out by me. An important friend of mine told me about it. We're going to give it a try. We're going to check it out. Because of the forced KYC, we're going to move away from Mexico. Finally, I hope the exchange is good. And remember the most important rule when it comes to exchanges, never leave any crypto or money on them. I don't believe any of them. Of course, we only use them as a buy and send it over to cold storage swap. With that out of the way, let's get to number one. IBM, the company that could kill Ripple, is in talks with two biggest banks to make cryptocurrencies. Those two banks were JP Morgan. I think the other bank was two at the time. It could have been Wells Fargo or something similar, but I could be wrong. But these kinds of talks always happen around these biggest banks. People talk about what these US banks are doing, but most of the time nothing comes of it. On the other hand, it was about this new cryptocurrency at the time, which we already know about at JPM Coin, right? And this is really a walled yard. It doesn't mean anything. In fact, it didn't end XRP. What it did was make the use case for XRP even stronger. Once we give it some thought, we can say that what JP Morgan is doing is not a big deal. Bank of America doesn't want to use JPM change and the other way around. But if we look at JP Morgan, they have told us some things about XRP and how they back Ripple and even XRP over the last couple of years. It was around November 2021. We got this JP Morgan. If Ripple wins its case against the SE, XRP is going to be used by a lot of people. This isn't just something that JP Morgan has said. Other big banks have too. In fact, Bank of America said the same thing. They said something like if they win, US banks will want to use it. It was also said by Bank of America that they will use XRP for on-demand funding if Ripple wins. Also, it's pretty much done. We can almost forget about this whole case. What's going to happen next? That being said, I do think that a lot of people will accept it. But what exactly is JP Morgan warning us about? Is that it? It's not, though. Sometime in July 2023, though, JP Morgan said that Ripple's court victory was a big deal for the cryptocurrency business. It was because of what it did. For example, XRP was targeted because of what Ripple was doing with it. And the same could be said about any other currency in the space, like ADA, Solana, et cetera, et cetera. So the win definitely changed the game for the whole industry. And I find it interesting that JP Morgan is the one to comment on this, even though it's been going on for over a year. We know that JP Morgan hasn't been very supportive of this industry as a whole, especially when it comes to Ripple. But even before this, in December of last year, JP Morgan said that XRP and Ripple could help unlock the $120 billion worth of value that was stuck in cross-border payments. And in case you missed it, this was called unlocking 120 billion value in cross-border payments, how banks can leverage central bank digital currencies for corporations. And yes, Ripple is talked about along with Closure, so SWIFT and CLS. These are the business attempts related to central bank initiatives. And we can see how important Ripple with XRP is when it comes to low fees, quick settlement, and even openness. Again, that was very interesting. Why is JP Morgan drawing attention to this? Why does JP Morgan back Ripple? When we look at JP Morgan more closely, they would not be backing Ripple. They would be against Ripple because it seems like Ripple is going after their business plan. This means cutting out the middlemen who are their main source of value or money. In other words, the fact that they are talking about Ripple again shows how important it is and how well it works for making payments across borders using XRP. But that's not what I want to talk about now. I'm going to talk about a few links because I think JP Morgan already told us what the plan was. Here is Sandy O'Connor, a Ripple board member who used to work at JP Morgan and is an expert on regulations. She is still on the Ripple board too. There are still a lot of links between her and the big institutions. I want to talk about it again because she is still on the board. Even though it is from 2020, she is still very much linked to the TradFi space. That just goes to show that these big names are joining the Ripple board for a reason. Okay, they want to be a part of this. They know what's important here. They know Ripple is a big deal, and in the last few years, they've grown into a giant. But we also have XRP, which is the real digital gold for banks. Thanks a lot, Smoke Dog. Don't believe what I say. Look at the written text. Once the CTO of Ripple, Stephen Thomas, banks will have gold. With XRP, you can quickly teleport into any vault in the world. A brochure for XRP in 2013 said that holding one was like holding gold since it was meant to be the most liquid token on the system. This third picture, called Teleporting Gold, talks about how XRP will help banks and even shows Ripple's main idea for how banks will use XRP when it's liquid enough. Indeed, liquidity is the most important thing. If we look back at that JP Morgan study, we can see that the high volatility of XRP makes banks less likely to use it to make payments. The reason for this is that XRP is still very fragile and not very liquid. When XRP is very easy to buy, sell, and maybe even go up in value, it becomes less unpredictable. This means that banks can now use it in a big way. He said that banks will have gold that you can move to any vault in the world right away. Also over here, in 2013, a marketing brochure said XRP is like gold in your hands. It is also meant to be the most liquid currency on the XRP ledger. A lot of the new projects related to the AM, like the stablecoin, will only make this stronger. This will make XRP and the XRP system very liquid and, in my opinion, a great place to grow a lot of these amazing use cases, especially for banks and other institutions, and pretty much anyone else who wants to build very strong, large-scale financial use cases. This could be for anything, for example, tokenization efforts, DeFi projects, or just teleporting gold over here. Why should banks care then? Because Ripple wants to use XRP to fix their money issues. Basel III would be different. It is another asset on the bank's balance sheet that it needs to hold cash to cover its debts. Ripple's main plan is to use XRP once its market value is high enough and it is traded enough for banks to get cash when they need it. In other words, they want XRP to be the key to almost all of our financial needs. This is a very important realization. I agree with that. How big of an idea XRP is for Ripple? There are still a lot of people who think Ripple doesn't care about XRP or the XRP system, which I find super silly. And I think it's very clear that Ripple is now more than ever fully behind XRP and the XRP ledger if people do some study and really read the information that Ripple and even Ripple XDev put out. In that case, that remark is just silly. But on the other hand, these Basel I rules are meant to make the rules, provisions and risk management of banks stronger. One of the most important parts of Basel I is that banks must keep more capital and cash on hand. Yes, it makes things worse for the banks. That being said, banks need to find other ways to get cash because it looks like liquidity is still tight. In other words, they need something very liquid and not very explosive. Also, a big thank you to Nick Blackwood for this. Smoke Dog does build on top of this in other ways, and yes, Ripple and XRP as a global bridge asset help banks get rid of the costs that come with Basel III compliance. XRP will be a high-quality, liquid asset that banks can use to make deals easier and keep less cash on hand. For sending money across borders. That's it for now. I'll open this in a new tab so you can see it. So what does a common bridge asset mean for the economy? And here it is. Processing cross-border payments today costs banks a lot of money in infrastructure fees. Using Ripple and XRP can help banks get rid of or lower these costs, which can free up a lot of operating capital and maybe even a lot more cash, having a big effect on the overall cash health of banks. But Basel I is also being talked about here. The sending institutions charge cost of holding high-quality liquid assets with lower yields, as defined by the upcoming Basel I rules against credit exposure during the in-flight time. And everything will be different after Basel I. As we look at this, we can see that it breaks down both real-time transfers and blockchain technology. Now they're talking about blockchains with private keys. We just saw this fall apart completely. Public blockchains are the only way to go from here. Franklin Templeton told us about it. It came from Citi, I think. People have been saying that public blockchains are